Thanks, Lauren. Good morning. All right. Well, we got a couple of things going on today. Today, we were going to have a picnic, but 74 degrees is kind of cool for kids in a pool. I didn't want everybody to catch a cold. Plus, it's supposed to rain the whole time. The only time it's supposed to rain all week, it was supposed to be while we were having that picnic. So we went ahead and moved it to the 28th, which is a good thing because today's a pretty full day for us. We've got a leadership meeting at 12:30. And then tonight, everyone's invited to come back at 7 o'clock for a commissioning service for our guest speaker today, which is Saul Herrera, who has been a member of our church for 21 years, and many of you know him, some of you don't. He and his wife left a couple years ago to go down to Jao, New Mexico to join God down there in service and ministry, initially thinking that he was having them to go and to join the work that is already there in one of the other churches, but has since realized that God has called him to, the two of them and another couple, to begin a church much like ours, focused on helping people actually follow Jesus and not just do church. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Saul Herrera. He's gone through Master Life. He's gone through eldership training here. He was licensed as a pastor here before he left. And tonight we will be ordaining him for the ministry of church plant in Jao, New Mexico. Let's give him a hand.
This one, so. Yeah, I can. This one on? Can you hear me? Awesome. Oh, well, thank you, Pastor Bob, and thank you all for being here this morning. Just before I get too far into this, I just want to open in prayer real quick, so if you can bow your heads and join me, I'd really appreciate it. Dear Lord, wow, just thank you so much for the people that are here. Thank you for just your blessings upon everyone. You know, you've raised us up and you call us out, and we just, our part is just to say yes, Lord. So we just thank you so much that you are our provision. And Lord, as you're speaking through me this morning, I would just, if there's anyone in here that is wondering what it takes to follow you, to say yes to you when you're calling them, Lord, touch their hearts. Let them know that all it takes is just a simple yes, and then leave everything up to you, Lord. So I pray, Lord, that your Spirit would fill this room, and that each person would just hear your voice loud and clear. So I ask all these things in your Son's holy and precious name. Amen. All right. So, like Pastor Bob said, my wife and I, we actually have been members of Grace for 21 years, but we have not been here the last couple of years. So we were here in December, and I actually got up here and spoke and looked out and said, wow, there's a lot of faces I don't recognize. And at that time, we'd only been gone about a year and a half. And so this time coming back here, I just kind of thought, you know what, I should probably kind of give you guys a little history of who I am. Started attending Grace back in 2003, and that was after I was saved when I was 17 in high school, but I never really followed the Lord. I didn't have a whole lot of discipleship. I just kind of accepted Christ, and it's like, all right, great. Now what? And the funny thing is speaking to a lot of people that it kind of took them a while to realize that, is that a lot of people went through the same experience. Yeah, I accepted Jesus, but then what? I didn't know what to do. So I just went back to being who I was before. And so I did that till I was about 37. And then one evening, God just spoke to me so clearly. And he just gave me this vision of who he was and how he had just been with me this whole time. And I went to my wife and I said, you know what, I think God just spoke to me, and this is what he showed me. We were going through struggling with our kids who were little at the time, and I just felt so alone and so, I don't know what you'd say, desperate to find the answers. So I just prayed and I said, God, I can't believe, I just don't understand why I'm so alone going through this. Even though my wife is going through the same thing, it just felt that way. And God just said, you're not alone. And like I said, in that instant, showed me a vision of just several times in my life where I really should have died, to put it bluntly. There's a couple of accidents. There was an accident that happened right outside my house. Early in the morning, I was in the basement sleeping. The car got hit, ended up a foot from my wall. If that car would have gone through the wall, it would have landed right on top of me. But that was one thing that God just showed. He says, I've always been with you. I've been, protecting you. I've been your provision. And so I told my wife that. We called Pastor Cam Dowdy, who was a youth pastor at the time here at Grace, and he came over. We talked, and next day I was, Sunday morning I was in church, serving in the setup and tear down. We were at the high school at the time, at the high school auditorium. So we had set up and tear down the different rooms for the kids to have their children's ministry. But since that day, got into just serving in a lot of different ministries. That was just one of them. Grew up, like Pastor Bob said, grew up spiritually here, taking Master Life a few times, teaching it a few times, doing the biblical eldership course that we went through, and which a result of that, I was put up for an elder along with where's Pastor Lee, along with Pastor Lee Hecton. So the two of us were put up, and unfortunately, God called me away to New Mexico, and I'll kind of get to that in a little bit. And so didn't go through the ordination at that time. So we're here today for that, which is awesome. But just through all of that teaching, like I say, God just really touched my heart in so many different ways. And he, like I said, he was our provision. We built this church right here, and I say we as in the congregation. There's so many people that came out on a volunteer basis, and everything from, the foundation was actually done by somebody else, but all the framing for the whole building, the ductwork, the tiles, the drywall, everything was done by the congregation, by volunteers. The block work was, again, that was somebody else came in and did that. We didn't want to, we wanted the building to be straight, the walls to be straight, so we got somebody who actually knew what they were doing to do that. But we built that, we raised this building, let me rephrase that. God raised this building through us. And it was such an awesome time. But then after that, it was like, okay, now what, God? Church is built, we're going to start attending, now what? And he, again, spoke to me and said, clean my house. So, okay. So I went and talked to my wife again and said, hey, by the way, we're not done here. God just spoke to me again. He wants us to clean his house, be the custodian. So we were part of the first custodial team here at, Clean the Church, coming in. And there again, just relying on God for everything, the strength, to get off work in the afternoon, after being on I-25 for an hour and a half, sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, come in here and, mopping the floors out in the foyer, mopping the gym. And the really cool thing is, and this is something that I hope that you all get to experience at some point, was the moments when I was the most tired, when I wanted to come here and do anything, when I wanted to do it the least, But I knew God, that's what God called us to do, so I said yes, and I showed up. Those were the best times for just talking with God. The energy that he gave me just in the moment, walking in that door to, get the mops and the buckets and, start mopping in the gym. It was just incredible. And like I said, I hope that you all get to experience, if you haven't already, just God's power in that. That when you want to do something the least, but you are obedient and you say yes, that's when he comes through. It just gives you so much strength and power just to do what it is that he's called you to do. So again, it's just relying on him. And which brings me to about 3 years ago. Again, God spoke to us and spoke to me and said, I'm sending you out. It's like, okay, what does that mean? And So when talked to my wife, said, okay, God's, say again, he sent us out. She's like, yeah, I know, he's already talked to me too. And it's like, okay, so where are we going to go? At that point, we didn't know yet. So we just started, okay. And I told her, and it was funny, because at the time I told her, I will go anywhere except Texas. I will not move to Texas. Move me anywhere else. So through, prayer and, seeking God, through his word, through his people, trying to figure out, God, where are you sending us? It did finally come about that it was going to be in Jal, New Mexico, and it's Jal. So if you guys get a chance, do a Google Maps on that. You'll see it's right in the southeast corner of New Mexico. So we're 8 miles north of the Texas border, and then we are 7 miles west of the Texas border, because, with the Panhandle. So we're as close to Texas as you can get without having to live there. This is what I always tell people. So, like I say, God has a humor. And I love that. It's like, I don't want to live in Texas. Fine, I'm going to put you as close as we can get. But we're in Jal, and like I said, it did take us a little while to get there. We just kept looking around. It's like, where are you saying? I said, and we kind of narrowed it down to New Mexico. Didn't know exactly where. So that took us a little while to get to, we looked at different areas. We looked at Albuquerque, and it's like, no, we actually did go to Albuquerque, went through there, visited. There's a suburb out there called Las Lunas, and it's like, yeah, I think this is it. Went there, and it's like, no, that's not it. I just didn't feel that. So again, we just kept looking, kept praying. God, where is it that you're sending us? And as it happened, my cousin had cancer, and he was getting close to, the end of his walk. And so we went in and saw him. He lives in Fort Stockton, Texas. And I've always said that there are no coincidences with God, right? Everything there's that God has a purpose in it. So we're driving, and I always drive. It's just my thing. 12 hours, I'm driving, no problem. That time, my eyes were itching so bad, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I thought I got something in my contacts. And so basically, I just told my wife, I said, hey, I'm sorry, I just can't drive. I can't see. Can you drive? She said, sure. Got in there, and I said, yeah, the GPS on our phones is all set, ready to go. Just follow that. You'll be fine. And so she started driving. I just kicked back in the seat, closed my eyes for a little while. And all of a sudden, it's like, this doesn't feel right. So I kind of popped up, and it's like, where are we? And I forget what town she said. It was like, well, I said, this isn't the way we're supposed to go. We've been that way a few times. It's like, well, this is the way the GPS told me to go. I said, okay, but this isn't the way we go. You should have. He says, well, it said do this, and so I did that, and then now we're here, and it's like, okay, where are we? So I just said, okay, well, just follow it. And I saw a sign. The next town is like, okay, just follow that. We'll turn around at some point. We just kept going, and it led us right through Jal, New Mexico. And as we're going through, it's like, what is this place? Like, oh, it says it's Jal. And it's like, I think this is it. I think this is it. We went through. And funny enough, the highway that goes right through Jal is straight. I mean, you just stay on that all the way to Fort Stockton. It's like 93 miles. And so, wow, it's even straighter than the way we were going before. But it was just that. We went through Jal, just felt that. Went to Fort Stockton, saw my cousin, and we prayed with him, and that was the purpose of us going. We just felt God just telling us, you guys need to go see him. You guys need to go talk to him. So we went, we prayed with him, and and it's like, okay, we're good. He was still, all right. So we came back, and we decided, you know what, let's go back through that little town. We'll go back through Jal, just kind of see what we get, what sense we get. And sure enough, we got through there, and just felt that again. It's like, yeah, I think this is it. But it was that, I don't know, when we knew this is it, it's going to be Jal, that's when we kind of started like, wow, okay, now it's getting real. Before we're just looking on maps, and we're just, okay, but now it's getting real because we know the place. And so, like I said, we were happy here. we were good. We were involved in ministry. We were, serving in children's ministry, which we both love so much. I mean, just watch as little kids just get it, But it was, so it was like, but even with that, I think to a certain extent, we were probably a little complacent too. No, we're good. We're happy here. We don't want to move. We're comfortable. And so it took something. But that's when kind of relied on our training, on our Master Life growth. And I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have taken Master Life, but Luke 9:23, right? If anyone is to come after me, he must take up and follow me, right? So that's what we had to do. We had to look at it and say, okay, we don't want to go. My family, I have 5 brothers and sisters, my mom, bunches of nephews and nieces, and they're all right here in northern Colorado. And it's like, we're going to leave our whole family and our grandkids. We have 3 grandkids that are here. We're going to leave them, our whole church family, people that we've known for years and years, and we're going to leave them. It's like, I don't know about that. But there again, it's like God speaking to us, like, no, we need to deny ourselves. We need to set ourselves aside and say, okay, God, if this is your will, we'll pick up that cross, we'll follow you. And so we just kept praying, going through there, and it was like, again, God just being there saying, okay, you're doing it. It still took a few months before we finally were ready to go, and part of that was, okay, so we know where we're going, but what am I going to do there? It's like I need to support ourselves. And so started looking around. It took a little bit. There again, looking on the internet, internet is awesome, right? There's so much stuff on there. It's like I was able to see jobs all the way in Texas, in New Mexico, in just around that area. But I was able to apply for those jobs. But the hard part was I'm not there. I can't bug them, And so didn't hear anything. And then again, my cousin, is like, yeah, he's pretty much done, So again, God just laid on our hearts like, okay, you guys got to go see him, go talk to him, go pray with him again. And so, all right, we went to Fort Stockton again, and again, going right through jail. It's like, okay, we're gonna check this out. And then we went and saw my cousin, and so again, we did get to see him before he passed away. We prayed with him, and it was after we came back, and so my aunt talked to my mom and just told her, that my cousin, he was just so grateful that we went down and see him, and he told my aunt, he says, I don't get it. He says, I have lots of cousins that live right here in Midland, Odessa, which is roughly 70 miles from Fort Stockton. He says, not one of them has come and see me. And yet, my cousins that live in Colorado, they're, 12 hours away, they would drive all the way down here just to see me. Why? And we had already talked to my aunt before that and told her, God just told us that we need to come down here. We need to see him. So that's what she told us. She told my mom, says, that's what I told him. And he just, he just cried, it's like, wow. If that is God's love, that he would send us from so far away to go, pray with him. But, sorry. Anyway, on our way back from that, we again went through jail. And this time we purposed to actually drive through jail. We wanted to look at the little town, because before it was just passing through on the highways and everything. And come to find out, they have this kind of like a billboard like we have out here out front for the town, and they had a job posting on there for a wastewater operator, which coincidentally, that's what I did here for the town of Johnstown, was a wastewater operator. So I went in and applied and thought, cool, okay, God, we got this. We're heading there. And didn't hear anything. and didn't hear anything for months. And so at the end of July, we actually during that time we knew we were going. So my wife and I, we kind of talked about it and said, you know what, we should write letters to the different churches there, just see who they are, and kind of get an idea of what we're walking into, and then we'll go see them, we'll go visit them. So we sent the letters out, and it was 7 of them, 5? Oh, it's 5 churches, 5 letters, and we only heard back from one, and that was First Baptist, and the pastor there, and he didn't write us back. I mean, he actually called and said, hey, got your letter, so what's going on? So we explained it to him. God is calling us to move there. And it's like, really? Okay, that's cool. He's a pastor. And so we talked to him for a while and then let him know, hey, we're going to come down at the end of July, to come visit you and kind of check you out. He said, well, actually, we're taking vacation that week. I'm not going to be there. My family's not going to be there. It's like, okay, that works even better because now we can come and see the congregation and talk to them without the pastor kind of, without the pastor kind of feeling bad that we're not talking to him, right? So we went there, and the first person that we met, his name is Joe Cole, an awesome, great guy. And one of the things that my wife had said, you know what would be really neat is to go down there and just sit down and just share a meal with somebody. In the Bible, there's something about sharing a meal. I mean, Jesus says, if anyone opens the door, I will come in and eat with them, right? And so it's like, that would be so cool just to share a meal with somebody. It's like, okay, yeah, that would be cool. So we went there, met Joe on Sunday. Turns out, in talking to him, that him and his wife, they own a local cafe there. And so he invited us for a meal. He said, hey, why don't you guys come tomorrow and we'll sit down and we'll talk and we'll have lunch. It's like, yeah, okay, So we went there, met his wife, Reva, and the both of them just awesome, God-loving people. And so in talking to him, said, yeah, I applied to the city for that job. He says, oh, I work for the city. He was the parks director. So he's like, oh, I know the guy that's doing the hiring. I'll talk to him. Okay, great. Didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. Called him up, said, hey, Joe, what's going on? And he said, oh, yeah, I'll talk to Van. I'll talk to him and let him know. So he talked to him, and sure enough, Van calls and says, hey, I'm really sorry I haven't gotten back to you. Our computer or our system got hacked, and so I'm not getting any emails. So your application, I never got it. It's like, great. Okay, God, is this what's going on? Kind of not realizing at the time, but it was God just slowing us down. I mean, we were like, okay, God, we're ready to go. We'll go. He's like, no, he's still preparing. He's still got stuff going on down there. So he slowed us down. Finally, I said, when everything went through, they got the system. I emailed my application again, and he got it. And it was, the interview basically was, hey, so I got your resume, and yeah, so when do you want to start? Like, okay, so you don't want to know anything about me, my work history? Nah, just, I got your resume, when do you want to start? Like, well, this is what's going on, so it's going to take me a couple weeks and this and that. So we ended up going down there in October, right? So again, it's just that waiting on God's timing, realizing that. And realizing that God has to, it wasn't just us that he was preparing jail, New Mexico for us as well. Because we got there, we started attending First Baptist, thinking, yep, this is going to be it. It didn't take us very long to realize that there's a need for discipleship in the whole, that whole area, the community, all the churches. There's a need for discipleship. So again, it's like, okay, cool, that's what we're here for. We're here to teach Master Life, because that's what Master Life's all about, right? It's discipleship. It's putting yourself aside, taking on Jesus, the cross, and following him. It's about staying in his word. It's about fellowshipping. It's about evangelism. It's about praying in faith. It's about spending that time with Jesus. And that's what was missing. It's like, So this is perfect. After 2 years of trying to introduce Master Life and just not happening, so that kind of brings back to, we were here in December, again, like I said, my purpose then was to ask you guys for prayers, just pray for us, that at that time we saw God moving, we saw changes coming around, and it's like we need prayer. We need that support from you guys, is that prayer, just pray for us, that we would not miss what God is doing. And so since December, it's just, God's just been so moving so much. We started a men's breakfast at First Baptist, which started out pretty good, 12 to 15 guys, and then it kind of whittled down, and kind of realizing that the guys from the other churches that originally were coming decided, well, they weren't going to come anymore. And so we've taken that out of the church, and now we're meeting at Joe's in their shop. They got this huge shop, which is awesome, and that's where we're meeting. And it was really cool because we talked to Pastor Bob at that time and said, hey, so this is what's going on. This is a couple that we've met that we're kind of partnering with, and, things are really awesome, and they just bought this house and got this huge shop. It's like, well, there you go. That's God providing for what he's doing through them, and, see how do they feel about that. So they were like, we had already talked. They're like, no, yeah, we're going to use this. That's part of the reason why we bought this house with this huge shop, so that we can have Bible studies, we can have fellowship events, we can, just do whatever God wants to do, we got it. And so we started holding the men's breakfast there in the shop, and so now it's grown back up to 15 guys from just different areas of different churches, but also there's a few guys that don't go to church that are starting to go to this men's breakfast, and so that's cool to minister to them through that. And it's like here, each once a month, but somebody gives a devotional, and then we talk about it. What do you guys think about that? And it's really been awesome. Like I said, there's some guys that are from the community that are starting to come, and so that's really cool. But really, the biggest thing is just, again, get back to God's provision. He provided for that. And even when we're thinking about that, and just like, God, where's this going to come from? How is this going to work? And, going back to his word, praying about it, in Matthew, 28:19 through 24, Jesus, when they're walking through, and he's telling them, look at the fields, look at the flowers of the fields. I'm telling you, Solomon was never dressed as fine as them, and yet, they don't work, they don't do anything. God just provides for them. And then he tells them, seek first God and his kingdom, and all these things will be given to you, right? And it's like, so that's what we were very conscious of doing. It's like, God, what are you doing today? How can we join you? Praying every morning, God, what are you doing? How can we join you? Use us. Is anybody out there that needs to hear from you? Send us to them. Bring them to us, and it's been really cool because a lot of the guys from work, right off the bat, the first question was, why would you come to jail? You live in Colorado. It's nice up there. It's so dry here, and it's hot. Why would you come to jail? So I was, God, this is where God brought us. And it's really cool to just go right into that. The story's not as long, but, not giving the whole history, but just basically like, this is where God brought us. And this is how we knew God spoke to us. And so it's been really neat just ministering to them and talking to them, and, kind of getting on them where it's like, it's kind of funny that one of the guys that I work with, primarily, he's a wastewater operator as well. But he, a few times it's like, have you ever thought about being a pastor? It's like, what do you mean? He says, well, just talking to you, the way you explain things, it makes sense. I get it. Just like, you guys coming down here, it doesn't sound weird that God spoke to you and that you're following God here. He says it just doesn't sound weird. And it's like, well, it's kind of funny you mention that because, I was a pastor at my previous church. And so now I'll be able to go back and say, yes, now I'm still a pastor. I'm ordained now. I'm a pastor here, not just there. but it's just those opportunities, are just there, and starting to take advantage of the time, the relationship that we built, my wife with some of the ladies in town and myself with some of the guys that take advantage of those relationships that we built over the past 2 years and started to bring them along. Really cool. We just completed book 1 of Master Life with 10 people from there, the different churches. There's a couple of them that don't go to church. They say they're believers, but, the church is here. They just don't get anything out of them. It's like, well, okay, but they're really they enjoyed Master Life. They're ready to do book 2. We just have to get through the workshop, which was kind of put on hold while we're here. But and actually, 2 of the couples became grandparents last month, first grandchild. So it was awesome for them. But that kind of, slowed things down as far as doing the workshop. But we're not giving up on that. We're going to get with each one of them. But, they're all excited about doing book 2, and that's just something that took 2 years for somebody to finally say, yeah, you know what, I want to take Master Life. Yeah, I want to do that. And it's just been an awesome ride. But, so like I said, just today, right now, I just wanted to come and just share with you that it is a process, just walking with God. It is an everyday thing. It's not just hey, yep, I accepted Jesus. I'm walking with him. I'm good. I'm done. It's like, no, it's every day. And it's choosing. It's saying yes. When God calls you, when God speaks to you. Like, I said earlier, it's just a simple yes. And, for me, I got to tell you, I had kind of second thoughts. I had doubts, but every time God kind of came through. And it's kind of funny. I started having second thoughts when we were about 30 miles from jail, when we were moving there. Okay, I'm driving a U-Haul, packed with everything we got, hauling one of our cars. My wife was driving, our second car behind me, and we're 30 miles from jail. And all of a sudden, it's like, God, what are we doing? Is it too late to turn back? Is this really what we're doing? We're coming out here. We don't know anybody, well, except for Joe and his wife, but we don't have any family. It's like, what are we doing? Is this really what you're calling us to do? Is this really you, God, right now? I really need to know. And so about 23 miles from jail, there's a 4-way stop. And as I'm praying and just, God, you really got to show me that this is you. I really got to know. And so, David, if you bring up that jail billboard picture. So I come to 4-way stop and I see this, just huge, okay? Why not jail, New Mexico? It's a sign out there. I asked God for a sign. He gives me this, like, why not jail? Okay, I get it. Cool. Why not jail? And so, I had peace about it, and all the anxiety I had, all the questions, like, I'm good. We're going. So we get to the RV park where our travel trailer is, and, where we spent the next year. We get there, and I'm telling my wife, it was awesome. I got to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, I was having doubts. I didn't know whether this was actually God telling us to come down here, or, I really had to ask God, what is going on? Is this really you? And I said, and he showed me this huge sign. And it was huge. And it said, why not jail? She's like, I didn't see a sign. It's like, what are you talking about? It's huge. It's bright white. It's right off the side of the road. How could you miss it? She's like, I don't know, but I didn't see it. So I said, okay, well, next time we go, because I said, jail is a very small town. We have to go to Hobbs, which is about 44 miles north of jail, to go to Walmart, to get the Lowe's, Home Depot, the bigger stores. And so I said, when we go over there on our way back, I'll show you that sign, because I don't know how you missed it. It's huge. So yeah, sure enough, a couple of days later, we go to Hobbs, and we're coming back. We come up to that 4-way stop. As we come up, can you put up picture 2, David? So as I pull up to the 4-way stop, I look over, and it's like, and this is what I see out the front window. It's like, I know there was a sign here, and I'm telling my wife, I said, I swear there was a sign that said, why not gel? And she's looking, I said, that billboard? I said, maybe it's that billboard, but it looked bigger. I mean, this sign was huge. And so look at that billboard, it's like, well, maybe they changed it out already. It puts a new advertisement on it. And then Lindsay kind of just goes, well, there's a sign that says gel. And I said, no, that's not it. This was huge. I'm telling you, this is huge. And so it's like we start pulling forward. Could you bring up picture 3? And you can see it. It's like, oh, okay, it does say gel, you know. And there's all kinds of other writing. It's like, that is so weird because all I saw was why not gel, but where's the why not? So pulled a little bit closer, and this one, picture 4, is actually like zoomed in, and you can actually see it says why not gel right up in the corner. And it's like, and my wife's like, how did you see that from that 4-way stop? And it was just stop in 3 seconds, right? And then go. And it's like, I don't know, because it was huge. Because it was huge. I don't know how else to say it. And so that's my Gideon moment there, is like, God came through, God showed up, and he's like, why not gel? Even though he took that. So that's pretty much my spiel this morning, but I just wanted to just really, like I said, just come and speak to you guys, the ones that don't know who I am, and even some of you that have known me for a while, kind of hopefully there's something they're saying, oh, I never knew that. I didn't know that about you. So again, we'll be available after service this evening. If you guys have questions, if you guys want to, just talk or whatever, we'll be available. It's my wife, Catherine, and our baby girl, Lindsay. So please, come and see us. So that's all I have. Go ahead and I want to close in prayer real quick for you guys. Wow, dear Lord, thank you so much. Thank you for who you are, for just equipping us to do your work. And even though, Lord, when we have doubts and we have second thoughts, you're right there. You're ready to just let us know that you are with us and that it is from you. And I just thank you so much, Lord, that you were there that day for me, because since then, we're just, like I told Pastor Bob one time, we miss everybody here. We miss them so dearly, our church family, our family, our friends. We miss them, you guys, so much, but we're glad to be where we are. We know we are where we're supposed to be, because that's where God has us. So, Lord, I just thank you for that. I just ask, Lord, that if anybody here, like I said, is just having second thoughts or wondering if that's you, Lord, that they would just, give you the opportunity to prove to them, to show them that you are God, that you are the God of the universe. And there is nothing that you can't do. There's nothing too great that you cannot do, Lord. So just help us all, Lord, as we continue to walk with you each and every day, each and every morning when we have our quiet time with you, Lord. Just talk to us, speak to us. Let us know that we are not alone. We have never been alone. So I just ask all these things in your Son's holy and precious name, Lord. Amen.